hope you guys are doing great. Welcome back to another session in which we guys are talking and we'll continue talking about nationalism in Europe. That's the first chapter for class 10th history, yet a very important chapter. So guys, in the last video we talked about what do you understand by the concept of nation state. I hope the concept is pretty much clear to all of you. So let's revise it once again before we proceed on to what we are going to talk today in today's session. So uh, when I talk about the concept of nation state, it's in Europe. The countries that we see as of now were not the same way back. Every country, let's talk about Germany, let's talk about Italy. Italy was divided into 7 princely states, yet Sardinia, Piedmont was the most important state of all of them. This particular state was the only state that was ruled by an Italian house, princely house, yes. And if I talk about Germany, imagine there are so many rulers right here in Germany. So much the entire area is divided into so many small kingdoms in which we have rulers out there. But do you ever think, have you ever given it a thought that are these people or will these people or were these people ever concerned about what is going or what is happening in the area next to them? Who is the ruler in that area? What are their duties, what are their responsibilities, and what are their privileges? It's when they were dominated by a foreign or a colonial rule and when they started to get all aware about the different set of rights that human mankind can probably enjoy is when the awareness came into picture. When the awareness came into picture is when they started to revolt. It's then when they started to revolt, they started to question the authority of the king. They started to define their own territory that, dude, this area is my area. I belong to this territory not because I have my ruler who's here, but because we people live together. We have our shared culture, shared ethnicity, and for that matter, we've now shaped our own history. This is where the concept of nation state came into being. Or you can say this is where the concept of nation state actually formulated. But if you guys remember, in class 9th, you guys have pretty much covered about French Revolution. Of course, that revolution, guys, in which we have that striking your mind right there, Bourbon kings, Austrian princess, Louis XVI. Do you know what happened there? How the people came together? Is it just a territory or is it the spirit of nationalism that brings the people together? How is the Christ of France that has set up an example in the entire Europe, in the entire history of mankind, that this revolution had a great impact under which the territorial state was defined, under which the transfer of the power was given all the way from a monarch to citizens? So let's see what happened in France because of which the people really could connect with each other. Okay, not this one. Here I have, what is the nation we've covered? So this is that scene of France, the society of France, where it was divided into 3 estates. There were 3 basic estates that the society of France was divided into. The first state was, of course, you guys know, clergy. The second one being nobles who enjoyed privileges based on their birth. And the third estate was the one that had middle class population, the wealthy people, the peasants, and really poor people. That is how we define or we talk about the third estate. But these people seem to be way too different. Then what happened that they all came together? How could they associate themselves? In France, we guys have probably seen that, like in Germany, French territories was also divided into different estates. The people did not have a common identity. Did they really have a common identity? No. So what happened? See, to come up with a common identity and to associate everyone with that particular identity, you need to call everyone by the same name. Don't call them madame, don't call them monsieur. Just call every person, they used to call every person in France as les citoyens. That means we are citizens. Take example of India. We never say we belong to this state or we are Maharashtrian, we Tamils, we are from South India. What comes to our thoughts, what passes our thoughts, or what comes when we speak as a person, when we talk about our personality, is that we are Indians. So that's how the very first thing is, and we owe a lot to our motherland. Isn't it that it comes similarly in France also we had the concept of fatherland that's known as la patrie. That means where you call it as fatherland. So these were the concepts of collective identity that basically emphasize that there needs to be a group of people, a notion where everybody has the equal status, everybody has the equal rights, which are granted to them through the constitution. Okay, but where does this constitution come into picture? In French society, we never had a constitution. It was the Estates General meeting that used to come up with all the laws every now and then. Do you guys remember that Estates General was renamed as National Assembly? But guys, do you remember? Every citizen was not made a part of this National Assembly the first go. It was just the active citizens. That how do you define them? 25 plus years who can only men who are 25 plus years of age and can contribute to almost 3 days of their wages as tax would become or be eligible to vote for National Assembly. So there was little difference, but more or less they were able to convince that king, you're a States General, Thenga. This and our own body is National Assembly with something that we can connect to. So I hope these three things are clear to you. Now imagine you guys go and go to buy vegetables, and somebody very near to your street is selling vegetables at different using different weights and measures and selling it at a very different price. And if you cover a distance of 5 kilometers, there's another fruit seller a vendor who's selling the same quality of vegetables but using different weights and measures and charging differently. And if you happen to go another 10 kilometers, imagine there's another person who's charging differently. That means in every territory, everybody is enjoying their monopoly. Nobody is guided by any rules or regulations. But trust me, in France, to bring the people together that we need to serve each other, we need to stand by each other, it's very important to have an centralized, yes guys, it's very important to have a centralized administrative system, and also by which I mean to say that there needs to be uniformity in weights and measures. Okay, imagine you are talking to this thela wala asking him, Bhaiya, give us vegetables this kg for this rate. And imagine he's speaking in his own language, Nakka no, chalega nahi. And I speak in Hindi, most of you might not be able to get it. Still you feel that there is a barrier. So how do you think can we cover this barrier, not barrier? Anyway, good. So we need to introduce a common language, and in France, the common language has to be French, yaar. So let's see what we've covered till now. Number one is the people, they try to associate themselves with their country among and also with their citizens, other citizens of the country. And how did they do that? How did they associate with the other citizens and with the country? They gave up the concept of les citoyens, that means we are the citizens of the country. And they also came up with the concept of fatherland, that means la patrie. But is that really good enough to bring the country together, to associate the people together? You just give a tag and you're good to go. Do you think it makes sense? No, I don't think. To really connect with the people, you need to put them together in whatever activity they are involved in. So I told you, I gave you the example of that vendor. You can't be expecting that they are going to use different set of weights and measures, different they're going to charge you differently, a lot differently, right? Different when you go from one place to another, maybe at a distance of 500 meters. And what about the administrative system? If we don't have that, centralized administrative system in which everything is at, kept at an equal footing, do you think it will make sense? So yet, in addition to introducing the uniform weights and measures concept, it's very important that you communicate with the same language. Then there is central administrative system. And something very, very, very important is, just in case your country, let's say here this France is divided into smaller section and there are so much custom union means you enter this territory, okay, you'll be charged differently for selling your goods and services. You enter this country, this part of France, you'll be charged differently. So in that case, it's a very, very, very important that you have a centralized system of custom union to shape the country together, that we guys represent a nation. We don't represent the different parts of the nation. We don't represent its territory. I hope this much is pretty clear to all of you. So apart from this, what we are going to talk today, I'm going to give you a very interesting trick to learn. See, Jacobians, anyway, we remember they set up their own clubs. They were the people from less prosperous section, and they set up all their own, reign of terror was there. The middle class people were part of it. But if you guys remember, there is a very important and influential person who came into picture when the directory clashed with the national assemblies. Guess the name of the person and drop your text there in the comment box. I'm gonna continue with this video in the next class. By the way, just to give you a hint, the name of the person, I don't know the name of the person, but I just know that this person was crowned as the emperor in 1804, but he was defeated in 1815. Guess the name of the person right there in the comment box, and I'm going to be back with the next video and we'll continue the story. Thank you guys.